Ready to talk about Christmas?
Hey folks, my name is Jen, and welcome back to another video. So the background looks a little bit different today because we're gonna do something a little bit different. So next week, or rather this week, when you are seeing this video, is the week before Christmas, so I figured that instead of... Oh, hello, there's a kitty. Instead of our usual content like book tags, wrap-ups, TBRs, etc. and all of that jazz, I just do something involving childhood picture books, or specifically holiday picture books. So what I've got here is basically all of my Christmas related picture books from when I was a kid. So I thought I would just share these with you guys and maybe read a couple of them. So let's get started. So I just have these arranged by size, basically. First up, I've got like these little books right here. Most of these are like golden books. They're like a brand, I guess, of like children's books. So I have like these two small ones right here. This one looks like it was 69 cents at the time it was purchased, so that's fun. It's called 1,000 Candy Santas, and it's basically just this cute little book. It's by Daphne Doward Hogstrom, and it looks like this was a Christmas present to me when I was very small. Yeah, it basically just is a cute little story about what happens when everything's going wrong around Christmas. They run out of like a bunch of supplies, and Santa's like hurt himself, so Mrs. Claus has to go and try to save the day. And it's just a cute little thing. This next little golden book is The Christmas Sled. This one is about a couple of kids. It's by Carol North. And this is just a cute little story about Christmas morning, pretty much, about Dana and David. Basically, they, with their parents and grandparents, open their presents, and one of the presents is this beautiful wooden sled right here. That's cool. And Binks is knocking things off of everything as usual. But anyway, so this is just a beautiful winter sled that she gets for Christmas, and they have basically a fun winter's morning. It's cute. And the next one here, this is The Nutcracker. This is a retelling by Rita Balducci, and my one complaint about this book is that, like, Clara's supposed to be like a little girl, right? But she's kind of drawn like she's much older than she is. Like that looks like at least a teenage face, right? It's just a little odd, but at the same time, the whole like shipping her with the Nutcracker, who's clearly a grown man, I guess that would be more awkward if she was drawn like a child. Or was supposed to be, I don't know, it's weird either way. The Nutcracker's really bizarre if you think about it, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, this is basically just like a retelling of the classic story. I have never actually seen the ballet. I've seen like animated versions of this, and of course I've read the book. I believe that this actually was an audiobook. It came with like a tape that you could listen to and had like music and stuff in it from the ballet. So it's just a cute story. I do like the drawings though. I do like them. I think they're kind of pretty, they're colorful anyway. Then we get into little golden books. So these are the actual, like, classic goldens with the back with all the characters, the golden ends, spines rather. And then it's got the inside, of course. Always looks like that. You can write your name on it. So the first one I've got here is The Littlest Christmas Elf. And this is all about Alistair, who is a very tiny elf, and he manages to get a job at Santa's workshop, but the trouble is that he is really small. Like, he's smaller than all of the other elves, and he keeps kind of mucking things up, because he just has a hard time doing things, and he feels like he doesn't fit in pretty much until he meets and befriends this older elf, and he gets to help with the reindeer and everything, and it's just a wicked cute story. I remember really liking this when I was a kid. Like, I remember really thinking that it was pretty cute. And I did just reread this again and thought it was pretty cute as well. And I thought it was a pretty good story also about, like, just because you can't handle what everyone else can, there's got to be something out there that you are good at and that you can help with if you want to. And sometimes it helps to have a friend that can help show you that special things that you are good at, basically. I don't know, it's like a short children's book, but I think it kind of touched on that a little bit and was a good little story. It's cute. The next one, also Santa related, is Santa's Toy Shop. I actually think that this might be an animated short. In fact, I'm almost 100% certain that I've seen at least something of it before, either on, like, Disney Plus, or at least on, like, the holiday Disney sing-alongs from when I was a kid. I feel like I remember animation that looked a little similar to this. This is just a cute little story. I really love the artwork in this. It's kind of a little more old school Disney, and I really love that. Basically, everybody's super busy all holiday long, and Santa's kind of upset that he didn't get a chance to test out any of the toys while, you know, they were making them and everything. But yeah, I really love the artwork in here. I think it's just really pretty. The artist is, well, illustrations by Walt Disney Studio, obviously. So, I don't know, this is a really cute one. If you've ever seen this short or know what I'm talking about when I say, like, the Disney sing-along things, I think it's up on the housetop. The Disney sing-along, I think that has bits from this. I don't know, I have to look on Disney Plus. I know they've got all kinds of shorts, so I need to look at their holiday ones and see if this is in here, but it's cute. It looks similar to this. Well, the next one is I Can't Wait Until Christmas, and this is a little Sesame Street book. First of all, Big Bird has a grandma, so that was a revelation, because I don't remember that from the show when I was little. But anyway, so Big Bird is so excited for Christmas. He's basically counting down the days. He found the perfect present for his grandmother, and he can't wait to share that with her. He can't wait to, like, talk with her about, or rather give her the present, and he keeps wanting to share with her, and she's like, no, don't tell me what it is. I want it to be a surprise on Christmas morning, which I totally get. I don't want people to tell me what my presents are. I want them to be total surprises. So it's just basically a cute little countdown, him wondering, you know, can I tell you what my present is? No, we're still counting down. Why don't you go do fun things, like go see Santa Claus? So there he is with Snuffy, which, by the way, is Snuffy still a thing on Sesame Street? I hope so. He was, like, one of my favorites. Or, like, you go pick out your Christmas tree with your friends, where all the Christmas trees look strangely shaped like them. Cute little Sesame Street story. So the next couple are like music-y related. So the first one is called, it's Jingle Bells. So it's related to the song. This is by Kathleen and Daly. It's based on the traditional Christmas Carol. The pictures are by J.P. Miller. And I feel like as a kid I had another book or two possibly illustrated by this person, because the artwork looks similar to like the classic golden kind of artwork. So it's cute. It's like a new story about these animal friends going for a ride, but it also includes in red the words to Jingle Bells, the song. So it's really cute, and they're all like riding along, picking up all their friends for this sleigh ride. My favorite page is there. I think that was just really pretty. The silhouettes. Yeah, at the back they have the actual carol written there for you with the music and stuff. So that's cute. I think I remember playing this on the piano when I was learning, because I remembered that I had this book. Anyway, yeah, it's just a cute take on Jingle Bells. Another Christmas Carol. It's 12 Days of Christmas. So there it is. This one is illustrated by Mike Eagle. That's not the same person. No, obviously not. I mean, the style is completely different. So it's like the basic, you know, Carol, Partridge in a Pear Tree, and so on. So I know that this is like a metaphor, if I'm correct, which I could not be. I just remember what I was taught in like religious ed classes as like a 15-year-old or something, was that these are religious like symbology or metaphors. Basically the items stood for religious things. Then again, I don't know if that's just like made up Catholic stuff or if that's like a legitimate thing that the carol is based off of. I'm not 100% sure. That actually would be an interesting thing to talk about though, and think about like the history of carols and stuff. Interesting. But anyway, what I mean to say is it's gotta be some kind of thing like that, because when you get, like, this is fine, although this seems like a bit much. I mean, what do you need with 7 swans, 6 geese, 5 gold rings, okay, whatever, 4 calling birds, you've got like livestock out the wazoo. But then you get into 8 maids a milking. Now it's not 8 cows, it's 8 maids, like you're now giving people, and it just kind of continues from there. You've got lords, you've got drummers, and all this stuff, and it's like you can't give people to somebody else. It's just not, no. So it has to be some kind of symbol or something. But, so it's a weird book, really, that I think only little kids could really enjoy. And I guess people, when you're singing it along to it on the radio during Christmas, you're probably not thinking about it that much. But in book form, it's just a little odd. But the artwork is really nice. I do really like the style here. I think it's kind of cute. It reminds me of like old-timey, like vintage Christmas cards or something. So that's weird. This next one is an actual like Christmas carols book. So this is just full of them, basically. It's illustrated by Corinne Malvern. And this style's kind of old school too, more vintage looking. So there's like Jesus, Sweet Jesus, I don't know what that is. Away in a Manger, so that's a classic. The artwork's pretty. Deck the Halls, of course. Got the First Noel, except they spell Noel kind of differently. I don't know if that's meant or whatever. I think Noel, though, N-O-E-L, that's like French for Christmas, so maybe that's why it's different in here. Joy to the world, all shepherds watch their flocks, which is another song that I don't know. O come all ye faithful, or Adeste Fidele, which you might know if you know, like, Latin. Another one I've never heard of before, He is Sleeping. I know that I, like, probably read these as a kid, but only focused on, like, Oh Christmas Tree, you know, stuff that I, actually knew, or actually was interested in, which, by the way, Oh Christmas Tree is actually O Tannenbaum, and it's a German song. And then you have I Saw Three Ships, and let me see what else is in here. Silent Night, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. So it's all like, yeah, it's like more classic ones, including a couple I've never heard of ever. And then just like this vintage kind of like drawing style, which is kind of nice. I guess this book is more like a one to pull out when you want to like look at the music and the drawings. It's not so much one that you would read to a kid before bedtime during the holiday seasons or whatever, because it's just songs and stuff. Then, okay, so I have a couple here, and I was thinking about reading a couple to you guys. I think that I should be okay. I don't think I should, well, it doesn't matter if I get demonetized because I'm not making money off of this anyway, but I don't think I'll get in trouble if I read you guys a couple of these. So one of the ones I'm thinking about is The Night Before Christmas. This is classic Clement C. Moore's classic like poem. And this one is illustrated by Kathy Wilburn. So yeah, let's just crack into it, I guess. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Went all through the house. Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes how they twinkled, his dimples how merry, his cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying a finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, and to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I really like the artwork in this one, and I think this is my favorite, pages right here. It's just really pretty. It's cute. The next couple, these are more religious ones, so this one, you can tell they're both kind of worn, but this one's all messed up on the front, and you can tell that I loved this one a lot more. This is actually about a donkey. What is the donkey's name? Madrique. It means pathfinder. I am sorry if I'm butchering that. I think it's in Hebrew, so I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I really like this story. It's about a little donkey who has a very good life on this farm, and then this guy bought some animals for his caravan, and he also wanted to buy Madrique, and his owner didn't want to sell him, so he gave a very high price for him, and the guy, the mean man, paid for it anyway, and then basically treated Madrique pretty horribly. This carpenter basically tries to save him and everything, and haha, guess who the carpenter is? It's Joseph. So, yeah. And this is apparently the donkey that they took with them, if you're Christian and you know that they rode a donkey into Bethlehem. Yeah. So, it's basically like them. I really liked this because it had animals in it, and it had a donkey, and donkeys are one of my favorite animals. They're just so odd looking, and that they're cute. Artwork's pretty simple, but I like it. I like how the animals look, so it's cute. And then you've got The Christmas Story, which is just basically, this is Retold by Jane Werner. The artwork in this one's pretty interesting though. It's a little bit different. Pictures by Eloise Wilkin. The kids, to be honest, look a little terrifying. They look just a little bit creepy. It's not that bad. It does look very vintage-y in its style, of course, because I think this might be an older one. But I do like the way it looks, I guess. But still, the little kids, they've got this certain look to them. There's some other religious books. I think I've got somebody gave me an Easter book or a prayer book or something like that when I was a little kid too, and the artwork looks similar to this, so I'm thinking that it might be the same kind of person that did maybe they did the artwork for all of the religious golden books. I'm not really sure, but yeah. One of these I think I will also share with you because it's one of my favorites, but I think I'll save that for the end. The next one I'll have to share with you is How Do You Wrap a Horse? This is by Dana Clement, and the watercolors by Chris L. Demarest. And I think I gushed about this story when I was in my other video where I was showing off the books that I unboxed that I grabbed from my parents' house. This is just a cute little story about two kids, Charles and Jenny, and they really want to get the perfect present for their mother and know that she'd always wanted a horse, so they try to first paint a horse. It's not very good, and decide that maybe they can get a actual real horse, basically, to surprise their mom with. So it's just this really cute story, and of course I gotta try to figure out, can I wrap a horse? How do you wrap a horse? Is that even possible? But yeah, it's funny, it's cute, and I really like the watercolor use, but I think that's really cute as well. So, it's an adorable story. I have this big one called The Christmas Trolls, and this is by Jan Brett, and this has more of like a Scandinavian feel to it, basically. So this follows a little girl. First of all, the artwork in here is just absolutely gorgeous. It is, oh, she illustrated it. He, she, they. They wrote and illustrated it. This is from Scholastic. Yeah, because I remember getting it from the book fair. So this is a story about Treva and her, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not, and Sammy. They are preparing for Christmas, going to get a Christmas tree. They have this, like, just a beautiful elk that they're getting Christmas on. What I really remember loving about this book when I was a kid was that not only is there beautiful artwork in the middle, but there's also really pretty artwork on the side. So here's the first introduction of trolls. These little trolls watching them. And you see more on the other side. You know, they go home with the tree, and then the trolls have followed them home, and they're curious about what's going on. They see them celebrating Christmas, pretty much, and the trolls kind of want in on Christmas too, but they don't quite understand what Christmas is about exactly, so instead they try to steal things rather than take it. But it's, look at the trolls treehouse, just freaking gorgeous. But yeah, the artwork is just absolutely stunning, pretty much, and I remember really enjoying this as a kid, even though I was slightly creeped out by the trolls. But yeah, they're cool, and there's like a little hedgehog. It's so cute. It's a really cute little story, especially if you're into like more Scandinavian like looking or style of like artwork or stories and things like that. I think you'd probably really like this. It's really cute, and like I said, and like I'm showing you, like the artwork is just, it's really pretty. So, and then the last one I have to kind of talk about here is called Two Brothers. The pictures are by Gabriel Lazowski, and the story is by Eugene Schwartz, but this was translated from the Russian by Elizabeth Reynolds Hapgood. So it's like a Russian tale. I remember randomly finding this as a kid, and just like being obsessed with it. It says, "This book is dedicated to all who believe in kindness. Kindness melts the ice. Eugene Schwartz believed that. I hope you do too." It's by the lady who translated it in 1972. Trees do not know how to talk. They stand still, rooted to one spot. Yet they are alive. They breathe, they grow all their lives. Even huge ancient trees grow every year. And just as shepherds care for their flocks, so do the foresters look after their woods. Now once upon a time, a forester lived in a great forest, and his name was Blackbeard. All day he walked back and forth through the forest, and in his own district he knew every single tree by name. While he was among his trees, the forester was happy, but when he was at home he often sighed and looked sad. Everything was peaceful in the forest, but at home he was troubled by his two sons, Big Brother and Little Brother. The older boy was 12, and the younger boy was 7. No matter how hard the forester reasoned with his two sons, no matter how much he begged them, the two brothers quarreled every day. One morning, it was the 28th of December, the forester told his two sons that they would not have a New Year's celebration that year. If they were to have a party, both he and his wife would have to go to town to get decorations. Their mother couldn't go alone because the wolves would eat her. That's intense. He couldn't go alone because he did not know what to buy. and they could not go together and leave the boys alone because Big Brother would mistreat Little Brother. Big Brother was clever. He did well in school, read a great deal, and can be very persuasive. He convinced his father that he would not mistreat his brother and that everything in the house would be kept in order until their parents returned from town. "Will you promise this?" asked Father. "I give you my word of honor," answered Big Brother. "Very well then," said Father. "We shall be gone 3 days. We will be back at 8 o'clock on the evening of the 31st. Until then, you will be the master here. You will be responsible for the house, but especially for your brother. You will be a father to him. See to it." Their mother prepared food for 3 dinners, 3 lunches, and 3 breakfasts, and showed the boys how to heat them up. Their father brought in firewood for 3 days and gave Big Brother a box of matches. Then he harnessed the horse to the sleigh bells tinkled, the runners crunched the snow, and the parents rode off. Everything went well the first day. The second day even better. Then the 31st of December arrived. At 6 o'clock, Big Brother gave Little Brother his supper and then sat down to read Sinbad the Sailor. He had just reached the most interesting part and was anxious to know what happened next when Little Brother interrupted. "I am lonely. Please play with me," he said. Big Brother became angry. "Leave me alone," he yelled. That was the way all their quarrels started. Big Brother ignored the interruptions as long as he could. Then he grabbed Little Brother by the scruff of his neck. "Leave me alone," he yelled, and pushed Little Brother out into the yard and closed the door. It was pitch black outside. Little Brother was frightened. He banged on the door and screamed, "What are you doing to me? My father would never do this to me." Big Brother took 1 step in the direction of the door, but then he said to himself, "All right, I'll read 5 lines and then I'll let him come in. Nothing can happen to him in that time." So Big Brother settled himself into an armchair and buried his nose in his book. When he finally looked up, the clock hands pointed to 7:45. Big Brother jumped up. "What have I done?" he cried. "Little Brother is out in the cold alone, and without a coat." He rushed out into the yard. It was pitch black and there was not a sound anywhere. Big Brother called his brother at the top of his voice, but no one replied. Then he lighted a lantern and looked in every corner of the yard. Fresh snow lay on the ground, but there was not a footprint to be seen. Little Brother had vanished. Big Brother began to cry bitterly and to beg his brother's forgiveness, but nothing did any good. There was no reply. The clock struck 8, and at that instant Big Brother heard sleigh bells in the distance. "Mother and Father are returning," he thought, sadly. "Oh, if only I could turn the clock back 2 hours. I wouldn't have locked my brother out. We would be standing here together, happy to have our parents back." The sleigh bells tinkled louder and louder. Now Big Brother could hear the horse snorting, the runners crunching the snow, the sleigh coming to a standstill. His father jumped out, his black beard frosted with snow. His mother climbed out of the sleigh with a large basket in her hands. They both looked so happy. "Why did you come out without your coat?" asked his mother. "Where's Little Brother?" asked his father. Big Brother could not say a word. "Where is your brother?" his father asked again. Big Brother burst into tears. His father took him by the arm and led him inside. His mother followed them silently. Big Brother told them the whole story, and then he looked at his father. It was warm inside the house, but the snow on his beard had not melted. His father's beard was not white with snow. He was so heartbroken that his hair had turned completely white. "Put your coat on and go out," said his father quietly, "and do not dare return until you have found your brother." "What are you doing?" cried his mother. "Must we lose both our children?" His father made no reply. Big Brother put on his coat, took the lantern, and left the house. He walked and called, but no one answered. The familiar forest enclosed him like a wall, but he felt alone. The trees are, of course, living creatures, but they do not know how to talk, and they stand rooted in one spot. Besides, during the winter they sleep soundly, so Big Brother had no one to talk to. He walked past places where he had often raced with his younger brother. Now it was difficult for him to understand why they always quarreled. He remembered how thin Little Brother was, and how some of the hair on top of his head always stood on end, how he laughed when his older brother joked with him, and how happy he was when he was included in his brother's games. Big Brother was so filled with pity for his younger brother that he did not notice the cold, or the dark, or the silence. At times he became frightened, and looked all around him the way a rabbit does. He was, after all, 12 years old, but next to the huge trees in the forest he felt very small. After reaching the end of his father's district, he came to that of their neighbor Forester, who played a game of chess with his father every Sunday. Then Big Brother crossed the district of a Forester whom he saw every 3 months. Then one whom he saw once in 6 months. And another whom he saw only once a year. The candle in his lantern had long since burned out, but he walked on, faster and faster. He passed the districts belonging to foresters about whom he had only heard. Then his path led upward. When dawn broke, Big Brother saw mountains all around him, and they were covered with dense forests. Big Brother stopped. He knew that it took 7 weeks to ride from his home to the mountains. So how had he climbed so far in only one night? Suddenly he heard a sound in the distance. At first he thought it was only a ringing in his ears. He began to tremble with joy when he thought it might be sleigh bells. Perhaps his younger brother had been found, and his father was coming to take them both home. Yet the sound came no nearer, and Big Brother had never heard sleigh bells ring so gently or so evenly. "I'll go and see where that sound comes from," said the boy. He walked for 1 hour, for 2 hours, 3 hours. The sound grew louder and louder, and he found himself surrounded by strange trees, tall pines on all sides, and they were transparent like glass. Their crests shone brightly in the sun. The pines swayed in the wind, and their branches struck each other, giving off a ringing sound. Farther on he found transparent fir trees, transparent birches, transparent maples. A huge transparent oak stood in a glade and gave off deep sounds like a bumblebee. Then Big Brother slipped and looked down at the ground. The earth in this forest was also transparent. The dark roots of the trees were transparent. Like great serpents they writhed and twined in the earth and crawled away into its depths. The boy went over to a birch tree and broke off a twig. While he was looking at it, it melted in his hands. Big Brother realized that the whole forest, frozen to its core, was made of ice, that it was growing on icy ground, and that its roots were also made of ice. "Why am I not cold?" asked Big Brother, surprised. "Because I ordered so," came the answer in a shrill, resonant voice. Big Brother looked around. Behind him stood a tall old man in a great coat, hat and boots, all made of pure snow. His beard and mustache were of icicles, and tinkled gently when he spoke. The old man looked intensely at the boy. His face was neither good nor evil, and so motionless it made Big Brother's heart tighten. The old man was silent for a while, and then he began to speak in distinct, even tones, as though he were reading out of a book. "I ordered that the colt should not cause you, for the time being, the least harm. Do you know who I am?" "You are Grandfather Frost," answered the boy. "I certainly am not," was the old man's cold reply. "Grandfather Frost is my son. I put my curse on him because he's too good-natured. I, Great-Grandfather Frost, am different, my young friend. Follow me." The old man led the way, walking noiselessly over the ice in his soft, snow-white boots. Soon they halted before a sheer cliff. Great-Grandfather Frost dug into his great snow overcoat and pulled out a huge key made of ice. It clicked in the lock, and great ice portals swung open in the side of the cliff. "Follow me," repeated the old man. "But I have to search for my brother," exclaimed Big Brother. "Your brother is here," said Great-Grandfather Frost quietly. "Follow me." They entered a palace built into the side of a mountain, and the great portals shut behind them. The boy found himself in an immense hall of ice. Through great doors left ajar he could see another hall, and yet another. There seemed to be no end to the huge empty halls. On the walls were round lighted lanterns made of ice. Over the door of the next hall was an ice tablet with the number 2 on it. "Here in my palace there are 49 rooms like this one. Follow me," ordered Great-Grandfather Frost. The ice floor was so slippery that Big Brother fell twice, but the old man did not even notice. He strode ahead with even steps and halted only when he came to room number 25. In the middle of the room was a tall, white-tiled stove. The boy was delayed to see it. Suddenly he was anxious to warm himself, but an icy blast came from the stove. There were ice logs burning in it, and they gave off black flames, making black reflections on the icy floor. Great-Grandfather Frost sat down on an ice bench and stretched his icy fingers toward the ice flames. "Sit down beside me," he said to Big Brother. "Let's freeze together." The boy did not answer. The old man settled himself comfortably and froze until the ice logs turned into ice ashes. Then Great-Grandfather Frost filled the stove with more ice logs and lighted them with ice matches. "Now I shall devote a little time to speaking with you," he said to the boy. "You must listen to me carefully. Understand?" Big Brother nodded. Great-Grandfather Frost continued to speak in the same distinct way. "You drove your younger brother out into the cold, so that he would leave you alone. You like to be alone, as I do. You will stay here forever understand?" "But they are waiting for us at home," the boy protested. "You will stay here forever," repeated Great-Grandfather Frost. He went over to the stove and shook the skirts of his great snow overcoat. Out fell all kinds of birds, titmice, nuthatches, woodpeckers, and small forest animals. A pile of them lay on the floor, disheveled and numb. Big Brother winced. "These bothersome creatures wouldn't leave the forest in peace, even in winter," said the old man. "Are they dead?" asked the boy. "I have stunned them, but they are not quite dead," replied Great-Grandfather Frost. "Now they must be turned in front of the stove until they become transparent and ice-like. This is your job. Get on with this useful work immediately." "I'll run away," cried Big Brother. "You won't do anything of the sort," said Great-Grandfather Frost firmly. "Your brother is locked up in room number 49. I know you will not go away and leave him. You will soon get used to life here. Start working." The boy sat down in front of the stove and with trembling fingers picked up a woodpecker. It seemed to him that the little bird was still breathing. Great-Grandfather Frost was watching him intently. Slowly Big Brother brought the bird up to the icy flames. Sadly he watched the feathers of the helpless bird turn white as snow. Then his whole body became hard as stone. Then it was as transparent as glass. The old man said, "It's ready now. Take the next." The boy worked late into the night, and Great-Grandfather Frost stood motionless beside him. Finally he put all the ice birds into a sack and asked, "Are your hands cold?" "No," replied Big Brother. "That is because I have ordered that for the time being the cold may not do you any harm," said the old man. "But remember, if you don't obey me, then I shall freeze you. Sit here. Wait. I'll be back. Soon." Great-Grandfather Frost took the sack and disappeared into the recesses of the palace. Somewhere, far, far away, a door slammed loudly, and the sound echoed through the halls. Great-Grandfather Frost returned with the empty sack. "It is time to go to sleep," he said, pointing to a bed made of ice which stood in the corner. The old man lay down in a bed in the other end of the hall, and soon Big Brother heard him snoring. After a long while, Big Brother dozed off also. It was morning when the old man shook the boy awake. "Go into the pantry," he said. "The door is in that left-hand corner. Bring breakfast number 1. It is on shelf number 9. The boy went into the pantry. It was very large, as big as a hall. Frozen food lay on all the shelves. He put breakfast number 1 on an ice platter and carried it back. There was meat, tea, and bread, all frozen. Big Brother had to gnaw or suck the food like icicles. When Great-Grandfather had finished eating, he said, "I'm going out to work. You may wander through all the rooms, and even go out of the palace, if you wish. Goodbye for now, my young apprentice." With that, Great-Grandfather Frost slowly strode out in his great white snow boots. The instant Great-Grandfather Frost left, Big Brother rushed to room number 49. He ran, he fell, he called his brother at the top of his lungs, but only an echo answered him. Finally he reached the 49th room. All of the doors except the one which read 49 were open. This last door was tightly shut. "Little brother," called Big Brother, "I have come to rescue you. Are you there? You there?" answered the call. The great frozen door was made from a solid slab of oak. Big Brother clawed at it with his fingers, but they only slid over the surface. He couldn't so much as dislodge a chip of ice. Slowly, sadly, Big Brother walked back to the entrance hall, and almost at once Great-Grandfather Frost entered it too. After they had eaten their icy dinner, the boy worked late into the night, turning the hapless birds, squirrels, and rabbits in front of the ice fire. And so it went, day after day after day. Every day Big Brother thought about the same thing, how to break down that ice oak door. He searched the pantry. He pulled out and peered behind all the bags of frozen cabbages, frozen grain, frozen nuts, hoping to find an axe. Finally he did find one, but when he took it to number 49, it grazed off the ice oak door as if from a smooth stone. Still the boy kept thinking. Awake or asleep, he thought about one and the same thing. The old man praised him for his obedience. Staying beside the stove, watching Big Brother turn the birds, rabbits, and squirrels into ice, Great-Grandfather Frost would say, "No, I did not make a mistake about you, my young friend. Leave me alone. Those are great words. With these words, people are constantly causing the destruction of their brothers. Leave me alone. These are great words. One day they will establish eternal quiet on earth." Big Brother imagined the whole world turned into endless rooms of ice and shuddered. The old man liked to recall the most ancient of times when great glaciers covered most of the earth. Ah, how quiet and beautiful it was to live then in the quiet, cold world, he would say, and as he spoke his icy whiskers tinkled gently. I was young then and full of strength. Where have my dear friends, the quiet, massive, gigantic man that's gone? How I loved to talk with them. To be sure, their language was difficult. The huge beasts used words of incredible length. To pronounce even one such word in the mammoth language, it was necessary to spend 2 or even 3 days and nights. But we were in no hurry to go anywhere. Great-grandfather Frost told many stories, but the boy could think only of how to rescue his brother. One night, as Great-grandfather Frost was telling one of his stories, Big Brother suddenly began to jump up and down with excitement. "What does this improper behavior signify?" asked the old man. Big Brother did not say a word, but his heart was thumping with joy. When one keeps thinking about one and the same thing all the time, inevitably one finds a solution. The matches. Big Brother remembered that he still had the matches his father had given him before the trip to town. The next morning, Great-grandfather Frost had scarcely left for work when the boy took the axe and rope from the pantry and ran out of the palace. The old man had gone to the left, so Big Brother ran to the right, where the live forest stood. On the very edge of the woods he found an enormous pine lying in the snow. He chopped pieces from it with his axe and ran back to the palace with a load of firewood. Big Brother had a large pile of logs on the threshold of number 49. His match flamed, the kindling caught fire, and soon the whole pile was ablaze. Big Brother laughed with joy. He sat beside the fire and warmed himself. At first the ice oak door glistened and shone so brightly that it hurt his eyes. Then the surface became covered with little drops of water. When the fire died down, Big Brother saw the door had melted slightly. "Hooray!" he cried, and smote the door with the axe, but it grazed off. The surface was still as hard as rock. "Never mind," he said. "Tomorrow I'll begin all over." That evening, as he was sitting in front of the ice stove, Big Brother took a little tit and hid it inside of his sleeve. Great-grandfather Frost did not notice it. The next day, when Big Brother made a bonfire again, he held the little bird out toward the flames. He waited and waited, and suddenly its little beak began to tremble. Its eyes opened and it looked at him. "Hello, little bird," was all Big Brother said, although he was almost crying with happiness. "You just wait, Great-grandfather Frost. We will all come back to life." Every day Big Brother warmed birds, squirrels, and rabbits back to life. He fixed little hiding places for his new friends in the dark corners of the rooms. He bedded them with moss which he brought back from the live forest. It was cold for them at night, but every morning they clustered around the bonfire and stored up enough heat for the night. Big Brother melted bags of cabbages, grain, and nuts and fed them to his friends as he played with them in front of the fire. Sometimes he told them about Little Brother, and it seemed to him that the birds and the squirrels and the rabbits understood what he was saying. One day when Big Brother made his bonfire, none of his friends came out from their hiding place to join him. Big Brother was on the point of asking, "Where are you?" when a heavy, icy hand pulled him roughly away from the fire. Great-grandfather Frost had stolen up behind him in his noiseless snow boots. He blew on the fire. The logs turned transparent and the flames became black. When the iced fire died down, the ice oak door stood there as strong and as solid as it had been so many days before. "One more time, and I will freeze you," said Great-grandfather Frost. He picked up the axe and hid it in the enormous folds of his great snow coat. Big Brother wept for a whole day. When night came, he was so tired and unhappy he slept like a log. In his sleep he felt someone tapping him on the cheek. He opened his eyes and saw a little rabbit. Then he saw all his friends gathered around his icy bed. They came out of their hiding places to help him escape, now the Great-grandfather Frost was asleep. 7 squirrels hopped over to the icy bed of Great-grandfather Frost. They hunted around for a long time in the snow of his great coat. They burrowed and burrowed. Suddenly there was a tinkle. "Leave me alone," growled the old man in his sleep. The squirrels jumped off his bed and ran over to Big Brother. They were carrying a huge ring full of ice keys in their teeth. Big Brother understood. With the keys in his hand, he rushed to number 49, his friends jumping, flying, and hopping after him. There before him was the great ice oak door. Big Brother found the key marked 49, but where was the keyhole? He looked for it in vain. The nuthatch flew up to the door. With his claws he clutched the rough bark surface of the oak and crawled over it head downward. He found something. He chirped in a low tone. 7 woodpeckers flew to the spot and patiently hacked away at the ice with their sharp beaks. They pecked and they pecked and they pecked. Suddenly, a square plate of ice fell to the floor and smashed to pieces, revealing the keyhole. Big Brother inserted the key and turned it. The lock made a clicking sound. The door slowly opened with a rasping noise. Full of excitement, the boy entered the room. The floor was littered with piles of transparent ice animals. On top of a table made of ice stood his little brother. He was staring straight ahead, tears glistening on his cheeks. He was completely transparent. His face, his hands, his jacket, the cowlick on top of his head, his tears, all were ice. He did not breathe or speak. Big Brother whispered, "Let us run. I beg of you, let us run. Mama is waiting for us. Let us hurry home." Without waiting for an answer, he took his younger brother in his arms and cautiously ran through the icy halls to the palace exit. All his animal friends flew, hopped, and jumped after him. The sun had just risen. The ice trees shone brightly. Big Brother ran cautiously toward the live forest, afraid he might stumble and drop Little Brother. Suddenly he heard a great roar behind him. Great-grandfather Frost was shouting, "Boy! Boy! Boy!" in such a thundering voice that all the ice trees trembled. It became very cold. Big Brother felt his feet getting numb with cold and his arms felt powerless. "Stop!" commanded the old man. Big Brother stopped. He was numb. The animals clustered around him, warming him. Big Brother came to life and ran on, protecting Little Brother with all his strength. The old man was catching up, but Big Brother did not dare run faster. The icy ground was slippery. Just when he thought he was losing ground, the rabbits began to turn somersaults under the feet of the evil old man, making him fall. As soon as Great-grandfather Frost raised himself, the rabbits would play the same trick, felling him over and over and over. They were trembling with fright, but they had to save their friend. When Great-grandfather Frost rose for the last time, Big Brother, still carrying his brother in his arms, was far down the mountain and into the live forest. Great-grandfather Frost wept with rage, and as he wept it began to grow warmer. Big Brother saw the snow melting on all sides all around him, and the streams running down the ravines below on the foothills. The buds on the trees began to burst open. "Look, a snowdrop!" cried Big Brother joyfully. Little Brother did not say anything. He was still motionless. "Never mind. Papa knows how to fix everything," said Big Brother to Little Brother. He'll bring you back to life. He will surely bring you back to life." Big Brother ran on and on as fast as he could, holding Little Brother in his arms. When he had set out to find his younger brother, he had climbed the mountain quickly, but coming down he raced like a whirlwind. He was so happy he had found Little Brother. Now he passed the districts that belonged to the foresters he had only heard of, and those of the foresters he saw only every 6 months, and those he saw only 3 months. The nearer he came to his home, the warmer was his air around him. His rabbit friends hopped for joy, his squirrel friends jumped from branch to branch overhead, his bird friends flew around and twittered. The trees do not know how to talk, but they rustled for joy, for their leaves were out and it was spring. Then Big Brother slipped. He fell into a dip in the ground near an old maple tree. Little Brother struck the roots of the tree and broke into little pieces. A great quiet fell over the forest, and out of the snow shrilled a familiar voice. "Of course I did it. You cannot get away from me so easily." Big Brother dropped to the ground, weeping bitterly. Nothing could console him. He wept and wept until he fell asleep in his grief. The birds came and put the pieces of Little Brother together. The squirrels with their clever paws glued the bones in place with sap from the birch trees. Then they all cloaked Little Brother with the warmth of their bodies. When the sun rose, they went away. Little Brother lay in the radiant sunlight which warmed him. The tears on his face dried up. His eyes closed softly. His hands were warm. The color came back into his striped jacket. His shoes turned black. Even the cowlick lay softly on the crown of his head. Little Brother heaved a sigh and another and began to breathe with a regular and quiet rhythm. When Big Brother awoke, there was Little Brother, alive and unharmed, sleeping on a little rise in the ground. Big Brother jumped up, not believing his eyes. The birds twittered, the forest rustled, and the brooks babbled happily in the ravines. Big Brother rushed over to Little Brother and grabbed him by the arm. Little Brother opened his eyes and said, "Oh, it's you. What time is it?" Big Brother put his arms around him and helped him up, and they ran toward home. Their father and mother were sitting in silence by the window. Father's face was as severe and stern as it was on the evening when he ordered Big Brother to go out and find Little Brother. "How noisy the birds are today," said Mother. "They are enjoying the warm weather," replied Father. "The squirrels are tearing around from branch to branch," said Mother. "They too are glad spring has come," answered Father. "Can you hear something?" cried Mother suddenly. "No," answered Father. "Why?" "Someone is running this way," said Mother. "No," said Father sadly. "All winter I kept imagining I heard footsteps crunching the snow outside our windows. No one is running in our direction." But Mother was already out in the yard crying, "The children! The children!" Mother and Father ran forward to meet them. After they all went into the house, Big Brother looked at his father in amazement. His beard, which had been white when Big Brother left, was turning black in front of his eyes. After this, the Forester and his family lived happily. Now and then, Big Brother still says to Little Brother, "Leave me alone." But he immediately goes on to say, "Not for long, just for 10 minutes, please." And Little Brother agrees, because now the two brothers live together in true friendship. So yeah, this cute little tale is a story that, yeah, there's some morbid bits to it, but the ending is really nice, and I always thought that the artwork looked creepy, but kind of cool at the same time, just as simple kind of drawings. But that was Two Brothers. So that's it, folks. That is my little Christmas story collection from childhood. I hope you enjoyed. If you are interested in checking out any of these other books, this one is kind of old. I haven't checked on Goodreads if I could find it yet, but the others, I have so far read a bunch of these on Goodreads, and I was able to find them, so I'm sure that they possibly exist somewhere, if not somewhere that you can read them online. I'm sure that there has to be somewhere you can find them on Amazon, possibly. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season. I am going to be coming at you with some like wrap-up videos at the end of this month, and then moving into the beginning of January. I'm going to try to get them out to you kinda quick. We're going to be having like the end of the year wrap-up, which will be much like what I did last year. Basically just going over some stats about how I read this year and what I read, kind of going through all of that. And then, of course, we'll move into my 2022, wow, TBR, that sounds really weird to say, but yep, I'll be putting out a video that will go over everything that I hope to read next year. And then, of course, going into January TBRs and also covering the best and worst books that I read in 2021 as well. I hope you enjoy all that content that's going to be coming out as well. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you are having a wonderful holiday season. If you don't celebrate, I hope you're having a wonderful December. See you in the next video. Bye.